Hello and welcome to the Tracie Austin Show, where we bring you the truth about the paranormal, the supernatural, and the highly strange. Without further delay, your host, Tracie Austin.
Hello and welcome to the Tracie Austin Show. I'm Tracie Austin and we have yet another really great show for you today. If you've ever asked the question, who really did build the pyramids and why? And did extraterrestrials have a hand in making those pyramids? And what wondrous treasures and information may lie beneath the pores of the Sphinx that could help mankind? My guest today, Larry Hunter. Now, I first met Larry Hunter about 11 years ago on our show, Let's Talk Paranormal. And can you believe, Larry, it was 11 years ago?
Yes, I can, and time flies. It seemed like yesterday,
It does seem like yesterday. Really? And listen, we did 2 episodes with you. You are a wealth of information. And I know a lot of people are very, very interested to know about Egypt and, you know, who did build the pyramids and did extraterrestrials have a hand in making them? What lies beneath the Sphinx? Take us back to that time when you first wanted to know more about Egypt and how you got started.
To put it simply, everything that you just said. But really, because prior to you read and you want to go. And when you go, when you see a building that you've read about and you've seen in movies, you cannot, 13 acres of stone is impressive in one building. Things like that.
Okay. Well, you've been to Egypt many times, 40 times, I believe.
Yeah.
Okay.
Obsessed.
Obsessed. And your recent trip that you took, how different was that one from the very first one you took?
That's nice, thank you. Because that really was a trip that allowed me to say I went from one end of Egypt to the other. I wanted to go to Abu Simbel, where the statues were brought up before the flooding, and I've already been all the way down to Alexandria. And what I looked for were things that would help me fully understand, because my education came from the beginning, the lower parts, the pyramids, and up to Luxor, but I'd never gone all the way up as far as one could go.
Right.
And then, so that journey was all the things I had learned to be more trained. What is the philosophy of looking now? I don't look with the old eyes of the Egyptologist. Their stories I know. I could get a degree in it, but they would say, why I don't have that degree, and honest, I could say, well, I don't want a degree in stupidity, because what you're saying and doing is stupid. Common sense, look, and by taking the upper end of Egypt and coming all the way down to Alexandria, I get to see by my vision of water, tremendous levels, coming down and the re-encroachment of civilization based on a receding, as an example, flood from Noah's time. Because it's all over the world, but everybody doesn't know what happened yet. And me, I'm studying the pyramids in Egypt, but I didn't have a key that would help. So this trip was sort of test my theory. The theory of the application proves. So to myself, I know what I'm saying. And then when I explain it through my work, you can understand it much better.
Okay.
So it helped me to get my dialogue to make my storylines and more understandable.
Okay. There's many pyramids all around the world, as you know.
Yeah.
So basically, why are they similar but different?
Blink your eye once. Light just travels 7.5 times around the planet, linking every one of them together, if you could believe it. That's
So
the
they are
technology.
linked.
Yeah, but see, that technology is before the destruction of everything. And that's just something that we're going to keep coming back to until I like you to say or discover yourself, I can see millions of years, or I can see what your point is, because there are a lot of elements here. I mean, when we're looking at the Anunnaki before Noah, and we're looking at the floods, and we're looking at Egypt today, they make it into 7,000 years. It's like a zip file on a computer.
Right.
All I do is just unzip it, give the geological time that's necessary to understand it. And then it just goes off the scales of academia, because they're afraid to go past 12,000. These are seashells, they're fossils, so like this.
Right. So in 1979,
Yes.
you discovered an unopened chamber.
I was accident.
Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, after I get there and I go through my little tour, you know, the Egyptians get you and they take you in a special way, and it's only magic for the individual. That story's on the internet and my website. But to get to that chamber, I had stayed on the pyramid all night because they dragged me out the night before. I was going to try to sneak in. Every tourist's dream. I've gone to Egypt. That's my pyramid. Any of the listeners that would go there, this like the things they want to do, but the government don't let you do.
Right.
In those years, we could do it.
Right.
All right. So to go and get an opportunity to go inside the pyramid, it was an invitation. I didn't pay anybody. I didn't bribe. Say, hey, I want to go. So the guy said, would you like to go down to the bottom of the pyramids? I said, yes. Oh, sure. But not now. I'm in shorts and I've stayed on the pyramid all night. The mosquitoes have eaten me up. I says, let me check in and get some sleep. I'll be back tomorrow. So the next day I came back and had a life-altering experience, to no other words. But that day and at that time, I discovered a secret room, or a room that, by my knowledge, was previously unpublished or unknown.
Right. Which pyramid was this in?
This is the Great One, the Khufu.
The Great Pyramid.
Right.
And how big was this chamber?
Well, after many years, you find out, because over the years since even the interviews, a lot of things are now in the purview of discovery as opposed to at that moment in time. Mm-hmm. All I knew from size and dimensions is that I could hear the King's Chamber coffer 250 feet up above my head, and maybe 48 feet, if I went back from where I laid, would be a plumb line from the King's Chamber. So I'm just not far past the wall of the King's Chamber down below, and this sound is just echoing of the coffer, boom, boom, and tourists coming in. And I'm at the bottom of the pyramid at the end of a 52-foot passage and listening to this. And I'm just going, and then people start chanting and you hear the groups coming in. And so I knew that there must be a big room in this place. So that was in June of 1979. And I've had that piece with me for a lot of years. And I think that by your show or any other conversations I have, that I'm enlightening the possibility to the world of this building, because people don't want the world to know about it yet, like a lot of things that we would talk about.
It's still pretty much secretive.
Yeah.
Well, I know that the locals that live in Nazlet Al Seman, did I say that correctly?
Nazlet Seman.
Okay.
That's good.
The village of pyramids. They revealed something to you. What did they reveal to you?
A lot of things. The revelations are, who are these people? Because people want to tell you things and you just in your ear out. But the level of the positions of the person are always, I don't just listen to anybody and believe it. They're either on or off, and they are checkable. As one thing that would reveal would be the body of Osiris being in the pyramid. If you, to me, the body of Osiris.
Right, and
it's a myth.
And I want to talk to you about that a little bit later.
But this would be one. Then you would get into the Sphinx, because you're mentioning the Sphinx, and everybody wants to know the Sphinx. So I got to stay with the watchman of the Sphinx, who had been there 35 years of his life and was the chief watchman of this place. So to hear him talk about rooms in the head and tunnels going from the back all the way to the front, and then if you go in where Hawass, and then they go down, and then there's today a wooden floor that keeps you from going down below more, but a little underneath that board is a room that has it's like a throne room. And I ended up, because they love me so much, somebody chiseled a little piece or got a piece from this room, and it was all coral, because this place was underwater.
Underwater, yeah.
And then, so I had that, and that's another story, another time.
Right.
So, but then if you went down a little bit more, there's a ramp there that you can go down in, and it's water, and you can go all the way scuba diving to what's the bottom of the Osiris Shaft of Hawass. And at the time they first found it, it was water covered. Well, that water level is just in the base of the Sphinx. So Mark Leonard at that time, he scuba dived up and he couldn't go anymore, so he came back. But what was really good is that they wouldn't let him go down even more and then go south, and then there's a large crystalline room on the right side of the Sphinx that's all in this area. So stories like this, I could sit here and go the whole show, but let's
we love
keep it
stories.
simple.
Yeah, we love stories.
That's the secret room, the body of Osiris, and then the things of the Sphinx, and there's more, because the other authors have gone river rafting under the plateau.
Well, let me ask you, who is Ahmed Shire?
Ahmed Shire's, him and Mundi Fayed were like my two hidden teachers. I lived in the homes of both of them. And Shire is the head of the Sphinx, more or less. And Mundi Fayed goes all the way back to Saqqara and the antiquities of that discoveries there. And they were fabulous teachers to me. They let me know about the Sphinx and I would sit at nighttime.
That's great.
Yeah,
that's
place
fantastic. And you said the pyramids were underwater and that there is evidence of embedded sea life in the rock.
And I've sent you some of those photographs where the sea life is growing on the blocks of the temples, and they're growing up around the second pyramid in this area. They're all over, and the beauty is to go and walking slowly and seeing the fossils on the blocks, which gives me an indication the block is before the sea life. The sea life is salt water. Depending on its level, that's how I know how far that ocean was. And as I go all the way up from sea levels around the pyramid, whales in the desert, 45 million years old, all the way up to the 900 foots in Sudan, and you've got 95 pyramids up there. So there's a lot of submerged architecture.
How far did the water come up?
Take it 7,000 feet to know. That's over a mile high.
Wow.
Around the globe.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
What are these little coins that we're seeing here right now on this photograph?
The coins are, if you're going to build something, you got to know what you're going to build if you're an architect before you start to build. It's like, how much cement do I need? How much sand, concrete, all these things. Well, these little coins are the foundations of the blocks. They're the mixtures that make the blocks. So they are like sand or aggregate. That's all they are. The concretes without the thing, you'll see aggregate coins, 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 coins. The blocks of the pyramids, coins. Everything is coins, little tiny ones just for hieroglyphs. Certain ones are the buildings that they call mastabas, but I think they're part of solar processors myself. And then the pyramid, it's got the large ones. And I think that I've sent you some pictures of billions of them in the blocks, but they are if you don't know how to build those blocks, or if you want to, I said it to the professor in Egypt, and he's Abdul Halim is my friend. And I showed him this coin, and he says to me, "What is this?" And he's the head of all the archaeologists and stuff. But he says, "What is this?" And I says, "Well, doctor, when you learn how to make this one again, you can build the pyramids."
Oh,
wow.
But
I'm serious, and we have a lot of fun, this professor.
So they were all just round. I mean, all of them around naturally.
They're the same size, and there's gaps between them, which doesn't occur in nature. And this is what you have to see. These little coins are manufactured. They're made. And that's what you see from one end of Egypt to the other. These coins are in the sidewalks of Alexandria. They're in it's everywhere.
Well, let's have a look at these mud structures here, Larry. These are fascinating. They're built on top of much older stone.
Absolutely.
Why?
All right. When I told you the water, the flood destroys everything. Now the water comes down and people are now re-encroaching on. What you got to see is that every time there's mud on top of stones, you look at every temple that comes down, and they got mud fortresses around the stone temples of Karnak or of Edfu, Esna, all these places. You look and you're going, if you could build this stone, why are you putting so much mud around it? So that's why I say water receding, mud, 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 mud. Get the mud and carbon date them, and you'll know the timeline of people re-encroaching, not building when they're coming in. So when you see that mud and it's sort of down, the Egyptians, they found that important. And what we're seeing is the demise mud all over the Giza Plateau, because wherever there was mud, the Egyptians were interested in that. And you'll see the shafts right after the mud that goes down, and that shaft and those foundations are from the before flood time. That's what you got to shift the mind of 7, 13, 20,000 and really see the age.
That's hard to do.
I know, but that's what we're here for, to paradigm shift.
Well, you know what fascinates me? We talked about, when you came on Let's Talk Paranormal, you showed me some blocks that had a figure of a little extraterrestrial that was holding a flag. Now, are we saying, Larry, that extraterrestrials were, building these pyramids? Why is it there?
Well, we are the extraterrestrials. We're the remnants of the destruction, and we have survived this cataclysmic event of 65 million years ago. That knowledge that is encoded in the pyramid is the biggest gift that any civilization from the ancient time could have left us today. It gives us the answers to the energy we need on a global level. And when we're ready to leave the planet, if we use the same formula, oblate spheroid around a stellar body, pi, etc., that pyramid is commensurate with the motions and amalgamation with the star. Now you can take that same knowledge and go to any planet, how many days it goes around its sun, Take that pi and get the linear measurements, and you will have your power right there ready to process just by this knowledge. It is a universal knowledge, and they brought it here. That to me is my origins of civilization. Now, when I really study this, because I'm only back 125 million years in what I'm looking at, I've got to see underneath the Great Pyramid older civilizations, because before the pyramid was 365, the world was 360 in its orbit. That's the curse of Isis, Horus, Neptune, and the 5 children that couldn't be born in that year. So you get into mythology, but you got to apply it to gravity. And this is a wonderful subject if you're looking at the universe and you figure 250 million years around the Milky Way and 65 million years from a bump to stabilization. And then there's billions of stars out there, and those are billions of planets and suns. Oh my God.
And I told you folks, he's a wealth of information. Larry, we're going to take a short break. I have a question for you when we get back from one of our subscribers.
I can't wait.
So we'll be right back. The Tracie Austin Show would like to thank our sponsor, Zohar Stargate TV. And for more information about our sponsor, please visit zoharstargate.com. Okay, Larry, we're coming back just after our quick break there. Greg from Tennessee, one of our subscribers, said, is there really an actual Hall of Records under the Giza Plateau, and how do we know this for sure?
Well, he could come with me one trip, and I would point to where and how to go about it, but it's not the time to open it, and we can't let the authorities know where it is, because right now I don't trust the antiquities authorities to be truthful with the significance of such records. All right?
So
it's there.
Okay, so tell us, what information is in these Hall of Records that might be able to, and I'm just throwing this out there, to help mankind? I'm taking it that it can help mankind.
Absolutely. Light's invisible. This pyramid is built on the premise of the stature of light, the strength of it. But that message has been lost over the eons of time. Only through reverse engineering and geometry can I see and understand. Being a navigator, I calculate sunrise motion. It's all like a CAD system in my head. So I can make movies of motion and see all this activity, but other people are only seeing shadows because they don't see the light aspect of what's happening. It's the shadow from the sun being blocked, and we see this motion. Oh, there's solar clocks. No. But anyway, when you get into that and you look at this math and you look at the culture that did that and you look at the Hall of Records as a place that if I really captured it, now I'm on to you, it took a second, there's a lot of data here. The Atlantis part of this is that the Atlanteans rediscovered a lot of what was destroyed millions of years ago. And their lesson was, I don't think the world was back to the constants. They're playing with the crystals that need that 365 balance and stuff to really be in tune with the universe. And it caused something that caused them to demise again. But before they demised, they left the records in the Hall of Records that would help us to understand the complexities of blinking your eyes 7 times around the planet, linking all this. I want to leave my soul down. I'm going to that star, and then so many million years later, I'm going to come back and get in my body. That's a lot to process to what this place has potential
absolutely.
for.
Will we ever be ready for something like that then?
Well, that's what the records are for. But from my perspective and the emotion of it all, is that I have rediscovered by just common sense and the ability to calculate light motion and planetary speeds and stuff and see how those people saw all that before they ever built the pyramids. And then to try and even explain it to you and anyone that's listening, it's hard for you to comprehend it first, all right? But me, theory preceded application. I built my mirrors and I patented this and sent it in 7 countries around the world because I think this is a really, really relative and important reawakening for humanity. It's a lot of data.
Yeah,
here.
and 365 is an important number then, evidently.
Yes, it is. But now when you say Hall of Records, because that's what we're on to, when we were talking about this and this, the Hall of Records to me will be a validation for me. Because when they open that, and they say, wow, this pyramid is designed to process light as a source of power, and it's the first one that's on the planet, and it sits in the center of the land masses, and everything you've been saying is right in these books, all right? But that's a different way to know the same thing. So for me, it's like, where's the book? No, let me take it another way. The director of the scientific studies of the Great Pyramid I looked at her, because I had a presentation on the light, and really for scientific, she was the one to listen. And I said to her, I've done an awful lot. I almost want to cry on these moments, I do.
You're so passionate about this,
Yeah.
aren't you? You're so passionate.
I said to her, I don't want to die not knowing what they did with this light.
Right,
How did they control it? Don't cheat me out of that.
right.
So that's where,
Pyramids of light.
yeah,
Okay.
love and light.
Love and light. And we'll come back and we'll talk about that a little bit more. Do you find, Larry, that present-day Egyptians support or do they deny their heritage?
They can't, as professionals, tell you the truth because the system is designed to weed them out.
Really?
Yeah, and so even this new scientific, and I don't want to give her name, but her name's Dr. South, she's a fabulous woman.
Okay.
And we were talking when she's sort of driving me to my next position, and I explained to her, everything that we've talked about, you can't talk about this because you'll lose your job. Mm-hmm. And I said, but me, I come from the West, and I can say these things, and you just have to be there to support, say, yes, you understand, and this is the way, because you are the scientific director. I'm not here changing the culture of Egypt and all your stories. I'm here for the science. Your myth is just a way to preserve the knowledge of that science in such a way that it's a cartoon, a facsimile for you, but you never really understood what they were trying to say to you. You're going to worship the sun by the ancient Egyptians, as opposed to making the sun subservient to your understanding of all the motion, that you will control that sun, and you're in the power seat. You don't worship the sun. It's your knowledge of the universe, something that God gave us.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Right.
Kind of like that.
Okay. We just talked about the Hall of Records underneath the Sphinx there. And
The records are here. I did a dig, Tracie. You actually were part of this. On the last show, we were talking about the giants, all right? Digging, remember?
Yeah, and
That's where we left it.
have to tell our audience a little bit about that story because that was fascinating.
Oh, I'm trying to stitch it. This is
Okay.
fast running.
Go ahead.
All right. After you left, I was to go back and get the tooth of the giant that was down below. I think, if you remember.
13-foot giant, wasn't it? Something like that?
If he was standing up, you were in here, his crotch is where your head would be, is the way it was described to me. All right?
So you didn't physically see it. This was someone
No,
else.
this is the Antiques Mafia digging in a house of a friend of mine that while he's in jail, because I saw it because they redug it open. They had 4x4s going down and 4x8 plywood sheets to make it a real safe dig. And really all we did was just sort of open it up, and it was like a sandbox. And they would put the dirt in the bags and around the room. I mean, it's fabulous. But so we went down, clearing out this sandbox. Somehow we diverted off and got over to a wall that was blowing air, and I heard water going down the steps. And I think this is more or less the way to the Hall of Records that everybody's looking for. And I even have on my website some activity of showing a trash pile in the village of the pyramids. Mm-hmm. And Casey had said that underneath the midden in Nazlet Saman is the way to the Hall of Records. Well, if you know this position, you'll see a lot of other things. So after we covered it back up, and it's just a trash pile now. And I wouldn't recommend it to somebody because it's like sewage, dirty, just the stinkiest place.
Right,
and nobody's going to want to mess around here.
Right.
But
obviously, yeah.
Yeah, go through the trash and you're on the way. But
Yeah.
that's for a future discovery for the gentleman in Tennessee.
Right.
It's there, don't give up, and it does contain the knowledge necessary for us to understand the civilizations of our ancient inheritance, I guess
Right.
is a good way.
So Greg from Tennessee, stay tuned to Larry and what Larry's doing. And who knows, maybe there'll be a trip there for you with Larry himself. But this giant, this was the remains of a giant. You had gone to try and get the tooth. Was the head still on the body, or was it?
No. All right, first, this giant, the symbolism of it, I don't know if we could just jump over to the book of Enoch, where Enoch is one of the patriarchs that never made it into the Bible. It's like the Apocrypha, they cut them out. Okay. Well, Enoch went to God, and he was the one that was sort of defending the angels that came down and had sex with the daughters of men and created the race of giants, 6 teeth, 5 fingers. Nephilim.
Nephilim.
All right.
Yep.
Now, in that time, they're eating people. So you got to have a long time going back before they start eating people. And in the time of Enoch, he goes to God and he says that I'm going to destroy the children of Methuselah, or the giants.
Okay.
Because the genetics of the human race had been polluted by outside influences. So the story of the Noah was to preserve that genetics, and 2 of every animal, I think, could be referred to 2 as seeds and cryogenics in some way. That I just see this race as being very, very, it's like Superman, Carell, you know, and it feels like that. When you break loose of oral traditions and start seeing potential and you know, it opens up a lot of doors. But when we look at that Nephilim destruction and we see the cone heads all over the planet, and there's a common link of these people, and that is prior to, I mean, millions back. So when you're seeing them in
So there were definite giants.
Yes.
At the time of these pyramids being
Enoch
built.
said that the pyramids and the stones would be the prisons of them. Okay. If we go, you know, so I see the Abu Rawash, and I see Zawiyat Arian, and I see the Orion group, and I see those, and underneath those would be the prisons where we would find these giants, because they're in the village right at what would be the entrance to the Hall of Records. And not more than 50 feet there is a huge mummy that's through the illegal digging and antiques mafia. Another one, they hit another house. 6 boys are dead. And all the gold that was there, and all the things that would come from, if they released this out, would crack open a thing. So the antiquities, you don't never hear about what happened to the gold. You don't hear what happened about the mummy, because it's really a lockdown. Now I'm going to jump link and anticipate a lot of your questions and just say it this way. The generals told me that once we open this up, it'll change the world. So it has that magnitude, and you can hear the power of this pyramid and what it does, that when that knowledge is ready and it does open, it's going to change.
When do you think we're going to be able to get to that information?
Well, I have enough faith in the way in which I'm moving. If I go every 6 months, my finger is close to the pulse of this. And these people that talk to me, they're not little people, and I'm not a little person that they can have a meeting going on and they blow the meeting off just to continue talking with me. And it didn't happen just once. It was important people like, don't bother me and continue talking, Larry.
Right. You know, Larry, I've seen photographs of the pyramids. It has a really, really high fence around them now.
That's new.
So
That's new.
That's new.
Yeah.
How long has that been there?
It started, well, when I would go there, I would look at my pictures, there's no fences, and we would walk out and dig in the dirt and find all kinds of stuff, where Hawass has got this new village of the pyramids. Well, years ago, we would just go out and they would take blankets at night and everybody would dig down and you know, but that's locals.
And there's no security there, obviously.
Then now it's cameras everywhere. If anything, problems, the security's good. All right, but security's 2 ways. You know, are they protecting what they're stealing, or are they protecting for the future? You know, and I always feel that the antiquities is really corrupt. I mean, I'm being honest with anybody that's listening, and I don't say those words lightly. I've experienced it, I've seen it, and that's what needs to change. I think that's why most of the things that are really important are still, as the Hall of Records, are sealed. But if you ever follow my way and I say bust that door, I think you'll find them.
Okay.
And that's the way.
Okay. There was a black pyramid, wasn't there?
Yeah, he's on the northwest corner of the pyramid, maybe 45 diagonal off. And this one, I think Busby, a person we were talking about last time, had written a book on these subjects. And I followed those positions. And there's something there. And there's a museum warehouse that's been built right next to it. And to me, it's sort of the marketing business of going underneath what they have, because this was a place of technology that was described, plastics and, you know, what we would say as modern implements. But I think if you watch and have the stories that they're taking these stealing things out through this warehouse, and it's like a bazaar for the antiques industry.
So that black pyramid...
I just feel that.
Yeah, that black pyramid has nothing to do with the 3 main pyramids.
Yes, it does.
It does.
But this is that part of the reflections that occur on certain days. This particular pyramid occupies, and it's a black flat pyramid, really, if you get down to it.
Okay.
And it has to do with November the 1st. And November the 1st, and globally, is All Hallows Eve, or it's symbolic of the destruction of humanity on that day, because it's global.
Crosses over from October 31st.
Halloween,
right.
And that's when the light on the November the 1st, the next day, or November 1st, the light leaves the ground. All right, it's now until winter at the elevations of light, and then May the 6th, light touches the ground again on that south. So things like this, they're complex, but they have to do with light. It goes back there.
Right, and we're going to talk more about that because we're going to do a part 2 of this show, Larry. I told you folks he's a wealth of information, so do not leave your seats just yet because he's going to come back and talk to us. Larry, thank you for now, my friend, for joining us on our show today. And
2 of them.
We're going to have you back.
Let's do Skype, because I'm in Los Angeles, and I would prefer Skyping, and then, if you don't mind.
We can certainly do another show on Skype. But stay tuned, folks. We've come to the close of our show, and we will see you next time.
Thank you.
The Tracie Austin Show would like to thank our sponsor, Zohar Stargate TV. And for more information about our sponsor, please visit zoharstargate.com.